This briefing is, like I mentioned, is the second in the series of our 3 planned press conferences to be hosted by Yiaga Africa. We equally invite you to join us at the same location on Sunday, tomorrow, at 1 p.m. When Yiaga Africa will share its findings from the observation of the conduct of the governorship elections. For governorship elections, Yiaga Africa deploys 682 observers across 642 local government areas in 29 states where governorship elections are conducted. This includes 642 stationary observers and 40 roving observers. Yiaga Africa will also deploy observers to 642 local government areas resort collation centers and 29 state resort collation centers. Our observers were properly trained to observe the entire election day process, from opening to setup of the polling unit, accreditation, voting, announcement, and posting of the official result, and will send in report via coded text messages to the National Data Center. This will enable Yiaga Africa provide timely confirmation on the conduct of elections in the polling units observed. This statement is an update on the midday situational assessment of the opening of polls for this election. Our findings. This report contains initial watching the vote findings as at 11:30 on election day today, with complete reports received from polling unit visited by watching the vote observers in 642 local government areas in 29 states. 1. As of 7:30 a.m., Yiaga Africa watching the vote observers reported that INEC officials had arrived at 368 of the 663 polling unit visitors across the 29 states. By 8:30 a.m., 426 of the 663 polling unit visitors have commenced accreditation of voting. 584 of the polling unit visited had 4 or more polling officials present, of which at least 2 are female. The polling unit visitors in northwest geopolitical zones had fewer women as polling officials than other zones. In addition, 552 of these 584 polling unit visited had security personnel present. Out of the 584 polling unit visited, APC party agents were seen in 442 polling units and PDP party agent in 568 polling units. Essential materials, register of voters, indelible ink or marker pen, polling official stamps, voting cubicle, ink pad, presidential ballot, related ballot boxes were present in 577 of the 885 polling units. Specifically, smart card readers were present and 583 polling units were visited. Critical incidents. Yiaga Africa had received the following critical incidents from her observers. 1. Missing and incomplete materials. Election materials were missing in the morning in Ngo Okpala local government area of Imo State, which led to no elections in wards 06, 10, and 11. Upon investigation, the SPO and the electoral officers were discovered to be involved in the process and were arrested by the police. This was confirmed by INEC officials in the state. Reports on missing ballot papers were also received during the distribution of materials at Rufu Rak and Usarak of Taraba State. In Kosafe local government of Lagos State, INEC officials, as at 12 noon, were yet to deploy as packs of ballot papers were missing. Reports of incomplete ballot papers were received from those locations. 2. INEC ad hoc officials refusing to deploy. Reports of INEC ad hoc officials protesting non-payment of their monies or allowances from previous elections were received from Agege and Oshodi Isolo local government of Lagos State. Destruction and burning of election materials. Reports on burning of election materials were received from Omogara Ward 2, affecting 13 polling units within this ward, Oriozo Ward, and Eka Ward, all in Eza North local government areas in Ebonyi State. Voting without smart card reader. Watching the vote observers reported voting without smart card reader ongoing in Customs 2 polling unit 028 Bama local government area, Custom 2 polling unit with code number 028. Ballot box snatching. This was reported in Gidan Sarki polling unit 006 and 09 in Soba local government in Kaduna State. Threat to media reporters. Reports on adoption of 6 journalists were received from Ahoada West local government areas in Rivers State. Preliminary recommendations. Speedy resolution of logistic challenges. Yiaga Africa calls on INEC to resolve issues related to shortage of election materials, non-payment of allowances for ad hoc officials, and malfunctioning of smart card readers. 2. Result collation. As collation begins in a couple of hours, Yiaga Africa reiterates its call to INEC to ensure strict compliance with the electoral guidelines on result collations. The result collation centers should be accessible to accredited observers, media, and party agents. INEC should respond to reports of substitution of trained collation officers midway into elections in some states. 3. Application of margin of lead principle. Yiaga Africa calls on INEC to ensure collation officers are guided by the guidelines and regulations on management of margin of lead principle. Results should be declared results should not be declared. I take it again. Results should not be declared and winner returned where the total number of registered voters in council polling unit will affect the margin of lead between candidates. This is in consonance with Section 26 and 53 of the 2010 Electoral Act as amended. Furthermore, Yiaga Africa urges INEC to ensure that where the scenario in the INEC guidelines on cancelled ballot provides for the elections to be conducted the following day, that such elections are conducted as so required to reduce the threat of disenfranchisement of voters for no fault of theirs. INEC should ensure the public is duly informed in a timely manner. Posting of polling unit results using Form EC60E, Yiaga Africa urges the Commission to fully comply to the electoral guidelines for the conduct of the general elections by posting Form EC60E series in all collation centers. This recommendation is made based on watching the vote presidential election observation findings of results not posted in 19% of the observed sample polling units. Yiaga Africa undertook the Watching the Vote project to provide Nigerian voters, presidential candidates, political parties, civil society, gubernatorial and other candidates, INEC with independent information on the conduct of the elections. The Watching the Vote project, like we always emphasize, is driven by data, for all Nigerians beholden to none. Thank you very much.
Lori, may I meet you?
I'm Christopher Fomonyo with the National Democratic Institute.
Okay.
And I'm John Tomaszewski with the International Republican Institute.
Okay. I know you're observers, but what is your impression so far?
Well, it's different from the February 23rd election, but I think we're really happy to be here as part of sort of an international group with about 20 observers across 10 states, and in partnership. I mean, the EU is also observing here, so we're happy to sort of have that sort of international presence during this really important state-level elections here.
Okay. And what do you have to say?
Well, I'd say, we are observing in Abuja and also in the neighboring state of Niger State, Suleja. We just came back from Suleja. And, you get a snapshot of what's happening around the FCT. But we're also mindful of the fact that this is only a snapshot in time for the polling units that we have visited. And obviously, we have to wait for our colleagues and other team members who are scattered across the country to also send in their reports to get a sense of what may have transpired in the states in which we deployed observers. But we're really pleased to be here.
Okay, thank you for not abandoning us at this point. I would like to ask you about what you feel about the announcement just now that there are incidences in Lagos, Koshofe local government area, and places like that. What would be your recommendation to stop?
It's still very early in the process. I mean, after the February 23rd election, we put out a number of recommendations. After this is all done, we'll go back and look again. We met with the INEC chair just the other day to talk about ideas even moving forward after the election. It's important to note that Iran and India have observed every major election in this country since '99, and we're not going anywhere. So we're going to continue bringing these lessons learned and talking with our partners, our Nigerian partners here on the ground.
Okay, thank you.
I would just add that, the fact that incidents happen on election day, it's worrying. And I think that in the past we've always appealed to the security services to conduct themselves professionally. We've always appealed to political parties to train their party agents so that they contribute positively to a good election. But I think we also need to raise the level of appeal to citizens, to Nigerians, because every Nigerian should see the election as a civic duty, as almost something that has to be handled, religiously, like an egg, with care and passion. And so we shouldn't be in a position where citizens have to go out and disrupt their own elections. So I think it's an appeal that should also be made to ordinary citizens to respect the civic responsibility of their fellow compatriots and create an environment in which every Nigerian that wants to vote should go out and cast their ballot.
Oh, fantastic delivery there. Now, in a nutshell, what is your goodwill message to Nigeria in all of this? Well,
it's been 20 years non-stop that Nigerian democracy has resurfaced, and our goodwill message would be that every Nigerian, every single Nigerian of the 180 million Nigerians on the surface of the earth contribute to strengthening this country's democracy, because Nigeria has so much to offer to its people, but also to this continent of Africa and to the world, because the world also looks up to Nigeria. So that would be our goodwill message, and we hope that it resonates with the Nigerian people.
Fantastic. Thank you so much
Thank
for
you.
your well
Thank you.
wishes.
Thank you too.
Country.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.